Hi, I'm trial attorney Chris Simon, and I practice law here in Atlanta, Georgia. Today's video blog is going to answer a question that is quite frequently asked by our clients, and that is, how much is a particular claim worth, and more importantly, how do you figure it out? There are several very important factors that go into answering this question. And the first factor is kind of obvious. The most important thing to know in deciding how much a claim might potentially be worth is how serious is the injury. The second thing to know is how serious was the collision? How much damage was there to the vehicles? I'll explain in a minute why that's important. The third thing is, what kind of a witness does the defendant make? It's important to know that in Georgia, you don't sue the insurance company. You're suing the other driver. And when you sue the other driver, that jury is going to be looking at that driver and trying to decide, well, is this kind of person that I like? Do I want to do any harm to this person's finances? They're not supposed to ask this question, but as a practical matter, that does happen with juries. Another very important factor is, what county does the defendant live in? In Georgia, you have a constitutional right to be sued in your home county. That means if you hit somebody who lives well out in the country, you're going to have a rural jury. And rural juries tend to be more conservative on average. Whereas the opposite would be true if you were struck by somebody that was in a metropolitan area, like Fulton County. Fulton County juries tend to be more urban, and they tend to be a little less conservative with their awards and jury verdicts. So the county also matters a great deal. The final important factor is the personality of both the insurance company and the adjuster. Companies have personalities, and they're from year to year and through season to season. Insurance companies have different philosophies about what they want to be doing with their cases. For example, over the last 2 years, the stock portfolios on a lot of major insurance corporations have taken a big hit. As a result, I've observed that these insurance companies are less likely to settle claims. They're more likely to litigate the cases, even ones where they know they're going to pay. And the reason is they get to sit on the cash reserves and make money on their investments while the cases proceed. So that is an overview of what the most important factors are. Now we're going to step in and break them down one by one. Liability or responsibility is a key part of any case. In fact, cases only have two parts. Who is responsible, and is it 100%? And what did they do? How serious was the consequence? How serious was the injury? So when we talk about evaluating a case, for our purposes, we have to imagine that responsibility is clearly 100%. If responsibility is an issue, that will have a drastic effect on what type of offers may come back later on. Why? Because if responsibility is a real issue, it's possible the jury will not give a verdict to the injured person. Makes sense, doesn't it? The first factor that we talked about was the most obvious one, and that is, the more serious the injury is, the larger the amount of compensation is going to exist. For a brief moment, let's discuss the basis of our tort system. Torts are injuries to people, and we have a system of compensation. This is not a lottery system. This is not a system where people are supposed to get rich for minor transgressions. It is a system that was designed to keep us from feeling wronged as citizens of our society when another citizen's negligence causes a serious problem. If it causes a fatality, a serious injury, there ought to be compensation for that. Why? If the system didn't exist, the person whose leg was broken and lost their job because their leg was broken would feel a great deal of anger and hatred towards the negligent driver that did this to them. They might go out and do something violent. The idea is this is an internal balancing system. Our justice system is not based on giving windfall amounts to people. It's based on fair compensation. So the beginning of the analysis always is, how serious was the injury to the person? Is it a broken leg? Does the person have a concussion? Do they have a bad laceration, a permanent scar? These things are all different types of injuries. On the other hand, what if it's a very minor injury? What if all of the care is chiropractic in nature only? What if there is not much to the bills? These things all get taken into account by a jury, and because one day a jury would think certain things about it, that affects how the insurance company is going to treat you and how they're going to make an offer. Now, I said in the beginning that there is no mathematical formula. You do not compute the value of a personal injury claim by multiplying 2, 3, or 4 times the medical bills. That's just not a technique. Back in the 1980s, that you saw that happen with some insurance companies, and for some reason that folk wisdom has lingered. It's just not accurate. So how does the insurance company do it? Well, there's 2 basic ways. First way the insurance company does it, some large corporations subscribe to a database, and the database allows the adjuster to put information into the computer and to get a result out. It sends the types of injuries in, the amount of treatment in, the county in, and the computer says, well, based on all the other information I've collected over the years, an average jury verdict is between these two dollar ranges. Colossus is the name of one of these systems. There are other proprietary companies out there doing this. The other way, for smaller companies or commercial carriers, is typically to have the adjuster's own experience be the data resource. And the adjuster looks at it, reviews all the factors, and makes a decision. So remember, the most important thing that will determine how large a dollar amount will come out of a claim is how serious the injury is.